Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning, everybody. Oh, it's playoff time. Happy Wednesday. Playoffs. Sixers tonight. Sixers in heat. This is the Anthony Gargano Show. We're presented by Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. And it all starts tonight. Now, oddly, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I feel completely calm. I just put my hand out and it's not shaking. It's completely still. I have just completely calm as the Sixers begin this iteration of the playoffs. Number 7 in post-process. This is it. Maybe it's the lucky 7 of the post-process runs. I don't know. I look at it tonight. The betting line, Sixers were up to a 5.5-point favorite. They were at 4.5. Now it's up to 5.5. No Rozier tonight. He's still out with that neck injury, and he's not playing for Miami. It feels like a Sixer game tonight. It feels like they're going to win tonight. Now, obviously, it's a must-win because you have to avoid Boston this early. At all costs, you have to avoid the Celtics. Now, if they do win, Game 1, oh my God, I love this time of the year, against the Knicks, Saturday night, 6 o'clock at the Garden. That's the schedule. If they win tonight, Sixers-Knicks, Game 1, Madison Square Garden. And when we look at it, and we have said this, we have talked about it, we'll continue to talk about it all day. Kyle Newbeck will join us in about 20 minutes. We have Danny Green coming on at 10 a.m. I'm really looking forward to talking to Danny. He played for Nick Nurse. Obviously, he's on this team. He's going to give us some great insights into the Sixers. I'm very excited to talk to Danny about that. So that's coming up straight up at 10. You don't want to miss that. So let's kind of put a cap on what we've been talking about, really, since Joel came back. He has gotten his minutes up, right? We saw him, I think, max 36. He looked good. I know there was the scare on Friday night, and he sits out Sunday, but he's going to be all right? Like, he's fine. He's ready to go. And this iteration of the Sixers is an interesting group because, again, we talked about the effects of Embiid's co-stars, whether it was Simmons, who was flawed and who had issues with temperament, or whether it was Harden, who was obviously Hall of Famer, great player, but flawed when it came to big moments. His game flawed, that when he couldn't shake his man, when there were issues, he sagged, he moped. And I think that mope was catchy. I think that affected Embiid, right? Like when you're the guy with the ball in your hands, is constantly prone to those big whims. I don't think that's good. And that's where Maxey comes in. Whatever Maxey is, he's even keeled, right? Maxey is all about playing with joy. He's obviously dangerous. He obviously is a legitimate co-star to Joel. It's Embiid's team. We know that. But Maxey is his true superstar, true star next to him, right? So you feel good about that. You have Kelly Oubre. You have taken the pressure off of Tobias from an offensive standpoint. So you like that piece of it. No Melton tonight. So you'll see Batum. They're role players, including Buddy Hield and Campaign. Interesting, right? Like they're a much deeper team. They're a much more balanced team than they have been in the past. Look, we've said it time and time again about the Celtics. They are incredibly talented. They're a very good team. But let's push that down to the end of the May, right? Let's look at May for the Celtics. Win tonight, and there's a really good chance you can get out of the second round. I'll tell you one thing. If they, assuming they win tonight, I would be crushed, and I'll say again, if they didn't get out of the second round. This is the year they get out of the second round. You get out of it, you go to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. Who knows, man? The way, if Embiid's playing at the time, see how Boston's faring. The fresh legs should help him come the end, once you hit May and that grind of the playoffs, series and games, every other night, high pressure, high stakes, high minutes. At that point, that should help Embiid having all this stuff. So I feel great. And then, we've talked about him a lot. The X factor is Nick Nurse. And looking forward to talking to Danny Green about him because he played for Nick in Toronto. And again, Doc did some good things here with Maxey and developing that elbow shot from Embiid, his kill shot. But Nurse is a tactician. He's an in-game strategist. And that's what you need in the playoffs. Best coach, best strategist since Larry Brown that has been here. So they're equipped to make a run. I would be, again, crushed if they did not. Well, beginning of the show, we have to pay homage to the Ranger who did something remarkable in this era of baseball. A complete game. Yes, a complete game. He went 9 strong, a shutout. When do you see a complete game shutout? He was marvelous. We all said about the Phillies, when we looked at the Phillies team, we looked at, all right, what's the difference for this team? And I remember saying it. We've agreed it. Jim Salisbury said it right here with me. He said it again last night with Jamie and Renee. It's all about Ranger because Ranger has this incredible upside. And you saw it last night against a Rockies team where he completely shuts them down. 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, only 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, only 4 hits. I mean, what a marvelous, marvelous performance. So if you get Ranger dealing like this, and he's been terrific to start the season, eating up innings. Nola eats up innings. Wheeler has been terrific, even though he's got no run support. So with that top 3, let's go. That's your best rotation. That's your best 1, 2, 3. With Ranger pitching like that, the way Suarez looks, that's your best 1, 2, 3 really in the National League. So, we'll discuss that. It's worth watching. Phil's 10-8. We said it yesterday, and the hope is that they leave the 500 mark in the rearview mirror for the rest of the year. That's it. So now they're 10-8. You finish with the Rockies again tonight. Bryce, homer, double, 3 ribbies. So a good performance out of Bryce last night. So the Phillies, look, I know the Braves keep clubbing their way and keep winning, but look, no Strider at some point will catch up to them. And I do think it's a Phillies division. It's a Phillies NL East. And lastly, to start the show, we play taps on the Flyers season. It was interesting last night for a while. The Canadiens were up 4-3. They were up 3-2 right, against Detroit. We needed the Montreal to beat Detroit. So it's 3-2, then Detroit ties it, and then Montreal goes up 4-3. And meanwhile, it's frantic, right? It's 1-1 Flyers, Caps, and they have to win in regulation. And it was funny. I was at baseball practice, and everybody's talking about it. All right, everybody's going, wow. And it was actually fun. I have to tell you, it was fun to actually care about NHL scores in April. And it's been a while for that. And then, of course, the ghost. I got to get on JP for him conjuring up the ghost. That's what it was. It was The Conjuring by JP, right? And he brings up the ghost. The ghost score. It sets up the winning tying goal, 4-4. Doesn't matter. Washington wins, open and the empty netter. So there you have it. Flyers season ends. And we'll put a bow on them at some point. And then we have to touch perhaps some of the biggest news out there. We have the Sixers, but this story that's about to drop from Jeremy Fowler is fascinating. ESPN. It's a story about Bill Belichick. And we'll dive deep into it later in the show. But the story says basically that Bill Belichick is going to spend a year off working for the Omaha and the Manning cast. So he's going to take the year off, and then he wants to get back into coaching. And he listed 3 teams: the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. Wow. If that doesn't put pressure on Nick Sirianni this year, nothing will. All right. So we'll dive into that. We'll kind of look at the realistic notion. Now, interestingly, of the 3, in the piece by Jeremy Fowler on ESPN, it looks as the Eagles is one of the most viable. So we'll dive in deeply into that. That is popping off. Brought to you by Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. Wow, man, lots to talk about, but we begin with the Sixers. JP, sing it! Sing the song,
Let's
JP!
go! Aplauda los manos, todo el mundo, para Filadelfia. 76ers, pisar tus pies, todo el mundo, para Philadelphia. 76ers, let's go!
There he
it's
is.
Game day.
JP!
Let's get
On
it.
the vocals, doing a great job. JP, John Zapata, Violations Greg, part of the clubhouse as we hang out. Guys, I wanted you here today for a reason. It's a big Sixer day you guys are wearing. Sport your Sixers. I love it. How are we feeling? JP, I'll start with you. Do you feel calm about tonight? Are you at all afraid? Do you feel spooked? Butler, the Heat, Spoelstra. What's your mindset?
You know, it's funny because like before going live today, I saw on Twitter that GIF, that famous GIF, like that Grand Theft Auto character walking towards the Wells Fargo Center. It's like, oh crap, here we go again. But because in all honesty, I feel excited. Like this is a good opportunity here. I just saw news as well. No Scary Terry for the Miami Heat. That bodes very well for the Sixers as well. But this is it, right? Like this is what we've been talking about. You want to avoid Boston. And for me personally, obviously we know this is a must win, but you have to feel excited with what's going to happen here tonight.
Yeah, the excitement's it's a big game, so you're going to be excited. But my question is, are you nervous? Like, because I feel I have zero doubt.
No,
I think they win, and I got to tell you, that sometimes scares me when I have zero doubt. But I feel good about tonight. VG, how you feeling?
I feel great. I mean, we got a guy in the chat
And
room
you're
already.
a bundle of nerves.
Yeah. Sean,
You have anxiety.
Sean in the chat room has, he said he's scared. I've offered one of my dogs for tonight for him to have because I feel great. In Nurse, we trust. The issue that they've had a lot of times, it feels like with the Heat, is that zone drives them nuts. And I think Nurse is the guy that's going to come in and make the adjustments on that.
It's a great point. But not only is the Nurse aspect, but there's legitimate shooters, right?
Yeah.
You look at how Embiid's his touch is ridiculous, right?
Ridiculous.
Right? It's completely ridiculous. Maxey, right? You got Healed. You got Oubre.
Yeah.
You got even Batum can knock down a triple for you. You got guys that are zone busters.
Yep.
That's something that this team has never had. That you remember during the Simmons era, right? Like it was the big fear. You go to a zone. Oh no, there's no zone bust. That's why you had to try out cork bombs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need that. You now I think they're equipped. That's why I don't fear him, and I don't fear Jimmy either. I mean, I all due respect to Jimmy.
Yeah,
Especially now, it's all him.
There's a lot of I went to the Phillies game, made it to the pub last night for the end of the Flyers, and someone brought up Jimmy, and I was like, bleep Jimmy. And the younger bartender was like, you can't say bleep Jimmy. Jimmy's all right, he's this. We love Jimmy. Jimmy's an assassin. It's like
He's also heat right now.
I got news for you.
I'm over it this year.
Yes. And here's the thing. We don't love Jimmy. All right? Bleep Jimmy is right.
Yeah.
That's exactly the right attitude.
And his
I agree.
minivan. Get that minivan out of here.
I don't want to hear Jimmy. I don't want to hear any waxing nostalgic about Jimmy. You know, the only Jimmy in this town is Jimmy Rollins.
Preach.
All right? That's it. When they play that gif of Ray Liotta and Sharon Goodfellas, he's going, Jimmy! Jimmy! You did it! That's Jimmy Rollins, not Jimmy Butler. All right?
Yeah. The city's excited. It's palpable coming through to get here. You know, Old City, Northern Liberties. I must have seen 7 or 8 hoodies, Sixers hoodies. Everyone's geared up this morning, walking with their kids.
Yeah, walk to the
that's
elevator
how we
today.
do it. Like, this is something that I love, right? Like, it's how we celebrate big games, like we're in this. Where this goes to our active fandom, not passive. Like, you know, everybody's wearing the hoodies, everybody's excited, everybody's fired up. I was on Fox Good Day this morning from the practice facility, where it's, you know, everybody's excited and talking about, like, it's all in. We go all in. So. And I think there's a good reason to go all in now.
Get your car flags out. We're ready to make a run.
Started. That was the thing. The car flags back in that era. In the 2000.
I hear.
That was a big deal.
So I hear.
It was. Real quick, before we get to Ranger. Dude, there's a Conjuring 4. You conjured up the ghost. I blame the Flyers' loss on you, JP.
100%.
I deserve everything that's coming my way. I don't know what I was thinking, ladies and gentlemen.
You conjured him.
My good heart got the best of me.
Yeah, who knew he had this
4
kind
seconds.
of mystical
What
powers?
Was it, 3.3 seconds?
3.3 seconds.
Are you kidding me? And again, it didn't matter because Washington scored, and won. But
yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, like, listen, it's definitely, listen, I said it yesterday. It's all fun and games here today to come at me, but like the fact of the matter is, the Flyers couldn't score. Like, if there wasn't even a goalie there, they probably couldn't even score. That's just how it was last night. Like, they had 20.
Ben Simmons. No, what's a better odds? Ben Simmons scores in an empty gym, or the Flyers score on an empty net on the power play.
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Let's take odds on that.
They need to do a new rule where you have the option of declining penalties in the NHL. So the Flyers say, we're good. We don't want to bring the power
ironically enough, there was only one power play between both teams, and the Flyers power play actually looked the best I've seen it the entire season.
Yeah.
But they didn't score a goal.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, let's face it. I mean, we know that what they need a top line. This is a team without top line.
A bunch of forwards.
Right, yeah.
Oh, and he played last night too.
Yeah,
he played.
That bastard. Yeah,
finally made his debut.
Yeah,
but
bleep him too.
Well, you touched on it. It was great. It's been years. Like, I rushed to the pub to see the third period. I'm score checking and just playoff hockey. It had that vibe, man. There's nothing like it, and I just miss it terribly in this town.
Well, you know what's funny too? Like, we had baseball last night, so Little Moss had a game, and then he had practice, right? So he had a Little League game, and he has travel practice. So I'm at practice it's 8 o'clock to 9:45. So it's right during the teeth of the game, and me and a couple of the dads are like on our phones because I can't watch it on my phone because of the Comcast thing. So
what is up with that? It's so
I know because I want to watch it on my phone.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right, and I have it.
Not on your home network.
Right?
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
You got to be on your home network to get it. And so I'm like, man. So I'm watching the Gamecast on ESPN, and I'm, like, what's going on? 4 minutes to go, 1-1.
Yeah.
Did they pull the goalie?
Yeah. What are you doing,
can't
George?
tell, right? You
They
know?
pulled it like 5 minutes left in the period, I believe, in the third period.
Well, they do it earlier now, you know.
I mean, John Cooper, when the Lightning were here in Philly, they pulled it like 9 minutes left in the game in the third.
Yeah. So, do you believe it? Listen, you get a face off in the opposing circle, you take your chances.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was fun, but it's clear like they just need more top end talent. I mean, when you have all those opportunities last night, you just can't bury the puck. It's just evident.
Michkov, like that's what it comes down to because
Boy,
you need star.
Yeah.
You need stars.
He needs a supporting cast too when he gets
Yeah, without doubt.
And
there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
well, so here's the controversial moment of last night. I want to get your thought of it. So in the third period, Torts only went with 9 forwards, right?
Yeah.
The 2 best players of the night were kids, Frost and Brink, and he decides to bench them in the third.
Yeah.
You need offense. I get it. Like you want that veteran leadership out there, but those 2 kids were providing the most
I agree
offense.
with you. I thought that was a mistake.
Hey, violation on the Phillies last night for not having any updates on the Flyers game while I was down there.
What's up with that?
Real quick though, can we all throw some love Rangers way? I mean, when do you see a complete game shutout in this era?
Was there any better ending than just a dribbler back to him? He casually just grabs it like he's hanging out on the park with his
because
buddies.
that's his mentality, right?
Yeah.
The blood pressure always low, always calm.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I feel like Ranger with the Sixers tonight, just calm.
Yeah. They might have 3 all-star starting pitchers.
Dude,
it's pretty crazy.
Dude, it really. I mean,
excited.
you think about if he's dealing like this, and we knew that there was a ceiling. Like he's got some room to grow. And you wonder if you can get this out of him, they're going to win the division.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Listen, I will say this about the Phils. I can't wait till we get to some watch parties. And I hope that Bill Matz runs it because last night we did the Flyers watch party that was presented by Ali Pop. Bill Matz is a genius. He decided to bring vodka, tequila, and whiskey. We were mixing it with the Ali Pop, and it was absolutely delicious. And of course, we're gonna show some love to our friends over here at Olipop as one of our great sponsors here today, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't had Olipop, definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend it with some alcohol as well as we did yesterday for the watch party. But Olipop is the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, ladies and gentlemen. Prebiotics and other botanical ingredients to support gut health. And Olipop is a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of fiber per can. And Olipop is available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including the most recent launch here at Wawa, ladies and gentlemen. The debut in Wawa couldn't be more of a match made in heaven, a delicious, healthy drink that meets a convenience store, both adored by a cult following as well. And you can check out some of the great flavors that they have. Obviously, we got VG with the vintage cola. Last night I was drinking the orange squeeze. It was fantastic. But they have some other great classic soda tastes that you can enjoy right now. But guys, you can get Olipop delivered straight to your home right now, and you can use the promo code PHLY20 to get 20% off your next Olipop order. This discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. And Olipop is sold online at drinkolipop.com or Amazon. And it's also available, like we mentioned, in 30,000 retailers nationwide, including that great old Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and GoPuff. So thank you to our friends over at Olipop.
All right, good job. Good job. Coming up, Kyle Newbeck from our All PHLY Sixers show. Let me tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. What I love about TrueMark Financial Credit Union, they are local. Yes, they are local. And that's one of the things that will really make a difference in my eyes. Because I'm all about, like, you know, I feel about community, right? Like, it's all about the community. The community with TrueMark is special. It really is. And that's what it's about. Now, I didn't know much about credit unions, right? Been a bank customer my whole life. And then I see the difference. I'm like, wow, it really is amazing. Better rates, lower fees, a better return on savings, more flexible options, all the same digital tools and tech to make our lives easier. TrueMark, again, headquartered in Fort Washington, 24 branches across the Philadelphia area. Right, their CEO, Kelly Body, like she's rooting Sixers. She loves the Sixers. She's freaking out tonight. Right, that's all about us. Like you want to circulate and do business with local people, and this is great. And by the way, just because it's a credit union, all right, you get all the same digital tools and more, all right? I'm telling you, amazing benefits, and you get all the tech and the digital tools that we love with banking. Head over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more or find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. All right. The big story of the day, of course, the Sixers. That's right. And that is also brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Joining us right now from our Sixers, all PHLY Sixers show. I love him. Kyle Newbeck. Kyle!
Woo! Good morning, gang. How we doing?
Well, I think you kind of see how we're doing. I'm thrilled. I love this time of the year. I love the Sixers playoffs. All right? I love this whole thing.
I think we all sort of wish they had the week off, right? They're just already in the playoffs, but it does create this cool moment. It's the first play-in game they've ever been in. The Wells Fargo Center is going to be rocking, obviously. So let's do it.
Yeah, and listen, you're right, but I like the path, right? Like, so you win tonight, and you got all of a sudden Saturday, 6 o'clock at the Garden, right? Like, that's theater, right? Like, that's a damn monster movie, to quote Apollo.
Well, listen, I have selfishly been rooting for Sixers Knicks for a while because it's easy to get back and forth to New York, but also because the environment for those games will be incredible. Like, we love to take shots at New York as Philadelphians, and we give it back to one another. Two of the best places to see a game in the entire league, MSG and the Wells Fargo Center. So I'm really excited about the potential for that, but they do have to get through Miami first. This is an ultra important game because, you know, we could talk ourselves into, if they end up playing Boston in round one, we could sit here and, you know, say, hey, Joel was the best player when he was healthy this year and this and this and that. But Boston has been by far the best team in the East this season. So it's the difference between potentially having a good path to the conference finals and all of us maybe expecting that they'll lose in round one.
I as much as I'm the Jolly Charlie and I love, you know, I love the whole thing. And I love how we celebrate in the fanfare. I'm not convinced of myself. If they lose tonight, I will be crushed.
Yeah.
All right? Because you don't want Boston now. Coming in off a loss before Joel gets really integrated.
Right.
That's not a recipe. You have to win tonight. It is a must win. And then we can talk about the Knicks. And I agree with you. I worked up there for a long time. Covered a million games at the Garden.
Yeah.
One of my first games ever was a Jordan 63-point game at the Garden on a Sunday afternoon. Like, you know, that place is storied.
It's a special building, and in part because the players believe it's a special place. The guys who play road games there get up for those games. But look, we're putting the cart before the horse.
I agree.
Here,
Let's
right?
talk about tonight. And let's talk about one of the things that I don't fear. Listen, Spoelstra's fantastic, right? He's terrific. Great coach. They're vampires, Miami. We know about Butler. But here's what I don't fear. I don't fear the zone. We just got done talking about it.
I 100% agree.
Right? You got zone, but this isn't Ben Simmons and you got to run Korkmaz out and have Korkmaz play 32 minutes because you got no one that could beat his zone.
It's a team that is much better set up to beat his zone. I'll take it a step further. Even though James Harden was a much better overall offensive player than Ben Simmons, against the zone, his unwillingness to catch and shoot threes. You know, Joel catches the ball in the middle of the zone, comes back out, swings to James, and it's that moment of hesitation. That's what you cannot afford. I think in the last game we saw them play in Miami, which wasn't quite the level of a playoff game, but is close to it. They missed a ton of open shots, but they were creating open threes against the zone over and over and over and over again. So if you're talking about what I'm actually concerned about, it's not the zone, it's Jimmy Butler, who we've seen raise his game in these big moments, and this is certainly a big moment. And what does Joel have in the tank? Because, you know, he's bigger and he's more skilled than Bam Adebayo, but Bam Adebayo is resilient. He's a guy that will play deep into games. When Joel, whose conditioning's still not quite there yet, when he wears down at the end of the game, I think Bam will have something left in the tank. So they got to get their work done early. They got to make sure that they put the fear into Miami in those first 2.5 quarters. So when crunch time rolls around, this game's already over.
All right, it's a great point. Let's start off with the tweak that happened Friday night. Obviously, he sits out Sunday. You weren't going to play him on Sunday. There was no need to play him, but people still go, "Oh, is it okay? Like the tweak okay?" What do you hear about that?
So he sat out Sunday, but as far as the Sixers have told us, Joel has been in every practice since then. He's been a full participant. And so if we're going to take them at their word, and unless I'm going to sit up here and call Sixers PR and everybody else liars, we have to assume that.
I hear the same thing. That's why I just wanted to see, just to make sure. Listen, it is what it is. Yeah. And, he's ready to go, and that's that.
Yeah, he might not be 100%, but that's more about the 2 months of rest, rehab, coming back to the court rather than what happened against Orlando. So as far as I can tell, he's ready to go for this game. I know his trainer, Drew Hanlon, came into Philly. It was yesterday afternoon or maybe yesterday evening to come work with Joel, get some extra reps in before the game. So he's clearly taking this very seriously. We've also heard from his teammates. I believe Kelly Oubre said on Monday that is a demeanor switch for Joel, that he's always the consummate leader, all that stuff, but these last couple of days he's been ultra locked in.
Well, the thing that's so interesting to me is his story, right, and his rise. Because one of the things with him is, we all talk about Jimmy and that year and Kawhi Leonard and the whole thing. Well, a couple things. Joel wasn't nearly the player he is today.
No.
Right? Joel also was immature, right? He was still, the whole tummy ache and the stayed up late playing video games.
The diet, the conditioning, all the other stuff.
Right. He's a different guy now. And that's not uncommon. When you look at a guy who has his, once you get into your upper 20s and now he's 30, it's like now's the time. It's the switch. And he is completely focused.
Yes.
So he's completely different. I still think people think about that Miami series and then they think about the subsequent playoff runs where you were saddled with Ben Simmons or saddled with James Harden, right? And they're warts. This is a different team. And Maxey is his co-star. You get an even keel guy with the ball in his hands.
Yes. Yeah. And look, Tyrese has no fear, right? And part of that is because Tyrese is well known as one of the hardest workers in the entire league. He has prepared for these moments. And I think in a weird way, he's talked about this recently. The 2 months without Joel has better prepared Tyrese for moments like these for the postseason, because for essentially 2 straight months, Tyrese Maxey was the number one guy on every scouting report. So they're throwing the kitchen sink at him. They're trapping him. They're doubling him. They're throwing weird zones at him. They're playing full court press at times just to get the ball out of his hands. And so now the big guy's back. He's taking the attention, and that synergy that they found, which, by the way, they were working on all this stuff together in the offseason, all the pick and rolls, all the dribble handoffs. Tyrese got together with Joel and his trainer, and Tyrese was the passer in drills with Joel, just so they could start building that trust and that chemistry as the point guard and the big man. And so this has been in the works for months and months and months prior to the season even starting. Obviously, they've been teammates for years. And here's another important thing. I think Joel believes in Tyrese. I think he trusts him. And so I think we saw it in the Orlando game. When Maxey has it going in the fourth quarter, Joel is okay saying, "You got this, dude. You have earned that right."
More than okay. He wants you because he's already said, he's a couple times he scolded him. Like, what are you doing? Go, shoot it.
Yeah.
Take it.
And I don't think he needs to tell him that anymore. That's more reserved for the rest of those role players. Like, you get an open 3 after Joel got doubled, he's in your ear saying, I want you to take that shot. I will live with the results. After playing with Ben Simmons, what he won't live with is a guy hesitating, record scratching in possession. You can't do it.
No, you can't do it. Let's go through a little bit. And from the Sixers, then we'll get to Miami. Let's look at Kyle Lowry. Like, what do you expect out of Kyle Lowry? And I do like the fact that you have another, you have a secondary ball handler. You got a guy that knows how to that can distribute. You got a guy that's playoff tested, that's a warrior. What do you expect from Kyle Lowry?
Well, so one, I think he's been instrumental in helping to set up a game plan against them because obviously he's very familiar with the Heat system, the personnel, all of that. To your point you brought up, he is another ball handler. And so if a team decides to sell out against Tyrese Maxey and say, we're going to trap you, get the ball out of your hands, I trust Kyle Lowry to make the right plays. In a 4-on-3, he's not a guy that's going to get downhill and beat you with speed anymore. But if you create that advantage for him, he's smart enough, he's a good enough passer that he can create some stuff for you. Where I think he really shows his value is when teams turn it over or you got to stop, the hit-ahead passes, the reads in transition are great. He also is a confident pull-up shooter. So if you give him some space, somebody backs off him, he's going to step into a three. And I'm not that confident in him as a defender anymore. Like he's in his late 30s and he's a smaller guard. So it's always tough. But I do think his positional sense, his communication, those are things that matter in any game. But when you get to play in postseason, playoff type basketball, staying connected and on a string is maybe the most important thing for a defense. I think he helps in a big way there.
All right. So now you have Tobias and Kelly Oubre. And it's interesting because I've made this point a million times, but Oubre is a fearless Tobias in a lot of sense. Tobias has a wonderful game, but we all know that, and he's a better defender, but we all know that, he shrinks at times. And Oubre is fearless. And that's a big, I think he's become a big piece to this thing.
I think you could argue he's their third most important player coming into this playoff run because I completely agree with you. Like maybe Tobias is mechanically more skilled in a few different ways and maybe he's better in certain matchups. But I think because Kelly is so confident that I said this throughout the year, he might be 1 for 9 in a game. The fourth quarter rolls around, he will shoot that 10th shot, that open three, and believe he is making it. He will keep attacking in the middle of a cold stretch. And the problem with Tobias is that there are games when he starts, 0 of 2 from 3.
No, the ghost, and he
shots,
becomes the friendly ghost.
He's in the background, and you don't know what you're getting from him. You can't count on him. And so I appreciate the relentlessness that Kelly brings to the table. I also think over the last month and a half of the season, he's changed his game in a positive way. He's been a better, more willing passer. He's been more engaged as a defender off the ball. And so, look, you had all that up. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He will be defending guys like Jimmy Butler if they're going to go on a big playoff run. So high expectations for Kelly based on the last month or so of the season.
All right, no Melton tonight. So we know
it sounded like he's dicey for whatever this playoff run is.
And that leads us to Buddy Hield because, with Joel, I mean, when he plays with Joel, you got to think that Nick wants to stagger the rotation. So he's on the floor with Joel. Space, it's got to be there.
Yeah. And so he was in a pretty extended slump for a while there. Nick Nurse actually compared it to a baseball hitter where once you get deep into it, you're chasing pitches and you're playing out of your comfort zone. I think over the last week of the season, Buddy kind of got it together. Against the Nets on the final day of the season, nobody really cared about that game. But Buddy caught a heater at the end of that third quarter, hit 3 straight threes in the final minute, and found some semblance of rhythm. Shooters are confidence players, right? There's nothing better than being in that zone as a shooter and just you feel like everything is going to go in.
Yeah.
And so getting one of those really good games to end the season, I think is going to help him build that momentum going into the playoffs. Hopefully we see that tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was paramount, the fact that he had a game, he had a stretch like that.
Yeah.
Because that on the way to a NBA Finals or the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, so you need those moments. You need those stretches where they're so big, to score bundles in 3 minutes is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it changes the flow of a game. We know it's always a game of runs, but those bursts are key, man. They just change. Think about if you had Buddy Hield last year in Game 6 against Boston.
Probably would have made one of those 1,000 threes that DeAnthony Melton unfortunately missed.
Yeah.
But to your point, one of the big things with the way the league has changed, 15-point leads are not like this unassailable thing anymore, right? We see guys go on 12-0 runs in like 90 seconds.
Yeah, Wemby alone.
When you're somebody like a Buddy Hield who's a dead-eye shooter and you're playing off of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, guys who, Joel more so, but guys who can regularly command double teams, and you have that quick trigger, you can turn a game before people even realize what happened.
Yeah. Let me ask you about Miami now.
Yeah.
So no Rozier.
It's a big
That's a huge deal without Terry Rozier for them.
So the big thing with Rozier, if you're asking me, is he is a streaky shooter, like a guy who can get hot, but he's also a pretty good defender at the point of attack. He's somebody that you would throw at Tyrese Maxey to try to slow him down. And now you're probably in a scenario where Tyler Hero ends up playing more minutes. I'm not exactly sure how Miami's going to set up their lineup tonight. Hero is a very good offensive player.
Yeah, he can't.
But Tyrese Maxey has picked him apart on the other end of the floor.
Yes.
So I think tonight the Sixers haven't historically been a team that really hunts matchups that hard. I think you could see them doing a lot of that tonight because the Rozier loss there is super important.
Yeah, it's huge. Let's talk about the Butler factor and talk about where Jimmy is at.
He's scary, man. I wrote a story for allphly.com yesterday where I talked about this. The hardest part about preparing for Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is he just plays like a different guy.
Yeah.
He shoots the ball more. He has the ball more. He's a more commanding presence because, as we talk about, there's this new rule this year, right, where you had to play 65 games and a certain amount of minutes to qualify for any awards. And there are a lot of guys, Tyrese Halliburton was a great example, who publicly were like, well, I feel forced to play more. Like, I have to do this. Jimmy Butler does not give a damn about the regular season. The whole thing is a ramp up to these games right now. And so he has, over the last few years, kind of mastered, I give this amount of effort in the regular season and this amount of effort in the playoffs. And so he is going to come out the chute ready to go. He obviously always has that revenge factor on his mind. He loves talking about, Tobias Harris over me. Him and Joel are tight, so he always wants to beat Joel on top of that.
Which, by the way,
it's nonsense, he believes it.
Right, like it's nonsense in that, Jim, you're the one who tried to have the coup to get stabbed Brett Brown.
It's really Ben Simmons over me was the real version of that.
I mean, and they were never going to, at that point, they were never going to part ways with Ben.
Yeah.
Tobias was just the afterthought. Like, they wanted to go to Jimmy first. And then when Jimmy goes, Brett Brown and Ben Simmons or me, then what are you going to do?
Yeah. But to keep it to the present day, Jimmy is just a really annoying in a good way player to play in a playoff series because he does all the foul baiting, some of the stuff that Joel does, the pump fakes. And so you have to
he's got gamesmanship, man. Like, that's a veteran who knows how to play the game, man. He knows how to get to the line. He knows the importance of possessions, like the rhythm of the game. When you need to stave off a run, could be in the second quarter, right, or right before halftime. Knowing how to finish quarters, all those little nuanced stuff is what Jimmy does.
And he's on the defensive end too. He's a pest where he's good at timing his doubles. Where if Joel has his back to the basket, Bam's on his hip. Jimmy historically has been very good at timing it so that right when Joel is trying to turn and face, he just comes through and pokes it out of there. So you got to worry about him on that end of the floor too. But I'm interested to see who Nick Nurse throws at him tonight because I think on paper, as we were saying, Tobias might be the best matchup for him.
Yeah, that's what I was
thinking.
thinking.
I think that's like showing red to a bull where Jimmy's like, F this guy. I'm going right at his neck.
Well, but he should.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
Tobias is actually a plus defender. And he's got length to bother Jimmy. Like, you got to throw Tobias, man. And Tobias, listen, we don't need you to carry the load scoring. Just go play defense. And he's done that before.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think, frankly, you're going to probably have to use multiple defenders on Jimmy. You want to make him
especially without Rozier.
For sure. You want to make him see different things. Like, they'll probably use Batum a little bit. They'll use Kelly Oubre quite a bit, if I had to guess. And you just don't want him to feel comfortable. Where you get in trouble is when Jimmy, to your point, is like in a rhythm, in the flow of the game, and just says, yeah, I'm going to get a bucket here, and I'm going to defer here. And just he knows where the help is coming from, mix it up, change the matchups, and that's probably the best path against him.
They win tonight?
I think so. Look, famous last words. Obviously, I always say they should do this, and the Sixers tend to do the exact opposite. They're the better team. They have the best player. They have Joel's best running mate, I think, that he's ever had in terms of the chemistry, the synergy, all that. They should win. They're at home. And then I'll see you at the Garden Saturday night.
Yeah.
Love it,
I
Kyle.
love it. Kyle Newbeck, baby.
Let's go.
Great stuff, my brother.
But let's just pretend I didn't say that if they lose.
All right. We'll erase that, please. That's great stuff. Thanks, Kyle.
Good to see you guys.
We appreciate it. He is the best. Kyle Newbeck. I want to read you something. All right. This is a story from Jeremy Fowler on ESPN. And it has to do with Bill Belichick and the future. In the coming weeks, Belichick is expected to sign a deal to do analysis for Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions, which produces ESPN's Manning Cast during Monday Night Football. He's believed to be biding his time until next January for openings on teams he has told confidants he would be interested in coaching: the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is fascinating. Howie Roseman told ESPN he had a conversation with Belichick, a check-in to see how the coach was doing after he was out in New England. A source, this is according to Fowler, close to Belichick, confirmed there was no talk during the call about working for the Eagles. Still, there was chatter in league circles that Philadelphia and Belichick could be a match. Despite some owners and executives believing the game had passed Belichick by, the Eagles felt he still had his fastball. He had nearly beaten them in the 2023 season opener with an inferior team. There was also a belief that Belichick will only coach until he gets 15 more wins, enough to pass Don Shula as the winningest coach in NFL history. Though not seriously considering a move, Jeffrey Lurie wondered to a confidant, was it worth overhauling the building, changing personnel and philosophies on everything from training staff to salary cap structure for someone who might only coach 2 years? And the source, Jeremy Fowler, quotes, "You'll have to start over again. Who would replace him? He hasn't had a good record of developing coaches. They were afraid that he'll have changed everything and every person, and you'll be starting from scratch again. He didn't demand those changes, but they felt like if we hire him, we have to give everything to him and trust how he does it." Jeremy Fowler on a piece about Bill Belichick and the future next year. Now, it would make sense that, God forbid, Nick Sirianni runs into a lot of trouble like last year, and there is a change. Well, certainly it makes sense. It makes also sense in Dallas that if another season of failure, that Jerry goes to Belichick there. You wonder, at this juncture, do you go all in with a Belichick for, they mentioned 2 years? I don't know, 2-3 years, maybe max. I don't know how long he's going to do it. But the issue is, how much would you change for Bill Belichick? And does Bill Belichick, the coach, is he still great? I mean, that's something you have to ask yourself. I'll ask you guys, do you still believe in Belichick? And what do you make of this story?
Just like Belichick as a coach in general, you're saying, right? It doesn't matter where he's coaching.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tough because, like, you've seen, like, the trend with coaches these days because, like, they're all young. And, like, especially for the Eagles, you always hear, like, the emotional intelligence. But, like, you do need a little bit of that as a coach these days. I don't know if Bill has that per se. Obviously, he knows how to win. That brings you respect right away. But connecting with your players.
I'll say that's the most overrated thing in the world from this standpoint. And look, Sirianni's got all that. They love him, the players. but your love of your coach is your position coach. In that league, your position coach is everything. They're the guys that you have, daily interactions with. Your position coach is the guy that gives you that EQ. VG?
I mean, do I think the game passed Bill by? No. I think he's still a brilliant mind. He's had no quarterback at all for the last few years. So, I mean, it looks like, he's nothing without Brady. But I'm really intrigued by the pressure. You mentioned earlier, the pressure this puts on Nick right now. If he wasn't tight and feeling under the gun coming in this year, he knows that Bill's sitting like an evil genius just waiting for him to fail. He knows that Jeffrey Lurie has thought about it. He knows that Howie Roseman has made a conversation with Bill Belichick. This puts a lot of heat on Nick coming into this season.
No, it does. It clear. Listen, it was already there.
Yes.
Because
someone just turned the furnace up, though.
Yeah, no. Well, listen, Belichick's presence, even from, Louisiana, where the
Right.
Manning is Thibodeau, where the Mannings are stationed, Omaha Productions, it's still there. It's in a big way. Now, look, there's no excuse for Sirianni this year. Like I thought he deserved to come back. I did. I thought when you had the 3 years that he had, I mean, up until the collapse, he surpassed every expectation. Now, you can say whatever you want about the schedule. He makes the playoffs in year one, right? They play hard the entire year. Year two, losing both his coordinators. He goes to the Super Bowl in year two, which is unprecedented. Year three, he loses both coordinators. In 2 years, they poached both his coordinators. And both guys that came in were substandard. Now, he bears the brunt of responsibility, especially when it comes to the offense. However, I thought he deserved another chance. Now you have stability. You have Vic Fangio, who is a veteran, who's been around this league, right? And you got another coordinator on offense that knows his way around the building, right? Like that was in Dallas, that understands how to run an offense. Now we'll see how that melds. So all the pressure is on Nick. They're loaded offensively. They have to. You can't have stretches and spells like you did last year.
Also important to note here. So I saw this report from two separate guys, Ari Meirov and Warren Sharp, that apparently there was a possibility Bill was going to be the Falcons coach as well, and Kraft actually called Arthur Blank and told him not to do it. I thought that was intriguing to see because obviously Atlanta was a coach needing Atlanta was a team that needed a new coach. Obviously, they probably could have gone through some type of little rebuild. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit as well.
I think the article actually is called like voted off the island, and he was pretty close to having the job. And Arthur Blank did a vote of executives and front office members, and he just didn't get the vote. So it's like Survivor.
Wow. Yeah. We're going to do this during the show. It doesn't matter. Did you send the link to Danny Green?
Yeah.
All right, because he doesn't have it.
All right, I'll send him another one.
All right. So just FYI.
I think all the things you listed are also things that really tweak the pressure on Nick. He's got no excuses this year. This is an offense that I can't remember having a skill level on the Philadelphia Eagles at every offensive position and a decent offensive line. I mean, he's losing a Hall of Famer in Jason Kelce, but the offensive line should be decent, and the wide receivers, tight end, and running back are insane. So, yeah, and he's got a real coordinator on both sides. This is all Nick. This is tough, man. I don't want to be Nick Sirianni right now.
Well, but again, I mean,
and he's coming off a season where
you should, though. But you should listen.
They quit on him. It looked like he's got offensive players making up their own calls in the huddle. He's said, I mean, it was a train wreck for the last half of the season.
Listen, and it was the most important part. Like I don't know. We have experienced a ton of stuff in Philadelphia, right? A ton of stuff. I've never seen this. Like what happened last year was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never saw that. 10-1 roll, and they beat good teams. They beat Kansas City. They beat Miami. They beat Buffalo. They were impressive. And then it just went.
It was a there was 2 different teams that played last year. There was that team that went 10-1.
10-1?
Yeah.
Like, that's
with a lot of same personnel.
That's a substantial part of the season.
Well, we were feeling good at 10-1, but the national talking heads kept warning you. They kept saying there's signs this ain't for real. They were like, you don't want to hear it from them, and you're thinking, they just hate Philly. But a lot of what they said came to fruition in the second half of the season. Us as fans, it's just like, there's no way this can continue. Every week, you're like, this has to end. They have to win this week. They have to win this week. And it just rolled and steamrolled into worse and worse and more frustrating and an epic collapse. Like you said, something we've never seen here.
Yeah, we've never seen that. And I wonder, I'm sharing the contact with you, Andrew. All right, just so you have, here is, because Danny's coming up at 10 o'clock, which I'm very excited about.
He's been great on ESPN. I've seen him a bunch of times. He's really good at cycle.
He played with Joel. He played for Nick Nurse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got such incredible perspective. So I'm really looking forward to that. But just get back to Belichick to put a bow on it, because I'm fascinated by this story. Like, this is like, and the thing about Jeffrey Lurie is he goes for it.
Yes.
And so he goes, listen, you know,
he's got a little Patriot envy. You know that.
Without a doubt. He's from there. Right? Like, he always had that New England thing.
Yeah.
And so if this, and this could be part of the master plan, then all right, let's see.
See if he hangs himself.
Let's see what happens with Nick, because if Nick is good and you know, it's, next thing you know, he gets himself out and he grows as a coach, great. We don't have to worry about it, because it's very real that in 2 to 3 years, then you got to go get another coach and do a whole new system.
Yep.
I have faith in Nick, because I think that but obviously, like, the concerning part was the way they declined last year. But I do like the coordinators that we brought in. I want to see what Kellen Moore can do.
Kellen Moore's going to be, I think, a big upgrade.
And Vic was the guy that they wanted originally. So we'll love to see what Vic's opportunity would be here.
Yeah, but Belichick, dude.
And the Belichick move is a move that it's almost like, if Lurie makes it, are you really going to second guess him? I mean, I guess because of his age, but you're bringing in the greatest coach of all time.
Listen,
so it's an easy move for Jeffrey, in the world court of public opinion.
And listen, if again, it goes back to Sirianni. If Nick flops,
if they come out slow, 0-2.
If he flops, listen, it's not about like, you got to look at it big picture. Like, you got to give it the season, right? If the season is a failure.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they would fire him at 0-2. I'm just saying if he goes out,
it's going to be
he's sleeping.
No, it'll be Brazilian. It'll be a Brazilian summer.
What is that? What is that? I don't know what that is.
Sounds like a Baldy thing there.
Is that like a gangster movie reference? Yeah.
Like, it'll be nasty, man. Yeah, it'll be nasty.
Yeah. So I don't want to go to Brazil in the summer.
No, all right, no. And remember, it's different times.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be summer in Brazil during the season.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go there. And for Nick, it'll be a Brazilian summer.
Oh, man.
All right. If things start to go awry, and Belichick, and then you have the fan base talking about Belichick.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing anybody wants.
Yeah.
Because look, you know, they should be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, that's what you hold them up to.
Oh my God, they go 0-2. We're going to see it in the comment section here.
You don't think they're contender?
You know,
you don't think they're legitimate? They should be. You should have that feeling going into it.
I feel like they're a playoff team. We've talked. I think the defense gets exploited in the playoffs.
Well, listen, my only point is the expectations after paying Jalen, after building this team, it should be as a Super Bowl contender.
Fran, let's throw Detroit in there. Who else worries you in the
I think the Rams are going to be good this year.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the Rams are going to be legit.
He's got to stay healthy. Stafford. He's got to stay upright.
You say any team's quarterback.
Yeah. Well, but even more so, he's fragile. You got to protect. Listen, he is. He's fragile.
Were you out with the Packers?
Fragile. Huh?
Were you out the Packers?
No, I think the Packers are a legit team. They're on the rise.
Yeah.
They made some good adjustments.
Their receivers are ridiculous. Yeah, they're ridiculous. Yeah. All right, coming up in a couple minutes, Danny Green will join us. But first, let me tell you about Rite Aid. Yes, your local Rite Aid. I want to tell you a story about Rite Aid. So my Aunt Cookie was, I loved. She was the greatest. She was very ill at times. And, so we were always going to the local Rite Aid to fill her pharmacy. And she would go and she'd walk there and the whole thing. And it's when I was like, I had such a good vibe from Rite Aid as your local neighborhood pharmacy. And those places are important in society, right? She would go in there, and her name was Mary. Everybody called her Cookie. And everybody would know, everybody knew her, everybody loved her. And she had that like a bigger than life personality. And like, they were so helpful. Like, Mary, you should try this to counteract some of the medications. She had a very serious disease and she was on a lot of meds. And so they really like took time and they were kind to her. And I saw that firsthand. And I was like, you know what? Those people are fantastic. They're angels, right? And as I look at Rite Aid and the need of the local pharmacy in your area, it's part of it, man. You know, whether it's you got allergies and you can go get your allergy symptoms and all your allergy meds and everything else to cure your symptoms, or you need to get your immunizations. You have that there at your local Rite Aid and all your goods, right? That's what it's all about. But you need a central place in a society, a local place, and Rite Aid fills that bill, man. I love them, absolutely love them. Check out riteaid.com for all of your questions, and you can stock up on allergy relief, all that stuff. You can walk in, schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. Visit your local Rite Aid. And I do want to tell you about True Fan Travel, your passport to the world of sports. Hey, by the way, New Orleans, Birds, now open. All right. So check it out. The trip to New Orleans, and it's going to be a special one. I mean, an incredible. So the beauty of True Fan Travel used to be Philly sports trips, as you know. Vince Rizzuto, who does such a great job. You want to go on a sports trip, a bucket list trip, travel with your brethren, whether it's they're doing a Phillies London trip or so they'll go abroad, or Eagles, right? You got all the great trips, LA, and you're going to New Orleans, and you're going to Tampa, and of course, Brazil. You got to do it. You make a memory. There's nothing like seeing the world, seeing those stadiums, traveling with friends. You're going to go first class because that's how Vince and Bob Cavanaugh, his partner, that's how they do it at True Fan Travel. You're going to stay at great places. There's going to be always things to do, and you're going to be hanging out with your friends, right? Like making new friends and hanging out with your brethren. 4 for 4 people. That's the beauty of it. Visit truefantravel.com to learn more or to find your next adventure. All right. Anthony Gargano Show reaches 10 o'clock. And, of course, we're brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. And I am so stoked over our next guest. I couldn't wait to talk to him. So Danny Green, who was a terrific player in the league, is now on ESPN and Yahoo. He works with a friend of mine, Jason Fitz. And he was here, right? Like, we loved him. And he has such great insights. He's terrific as an analyst. As great as a player, he could be as good as an analyst. Let's welcome Danny Green to the program. Danny, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Dude, your analysis is terrific, man. Let me just tell you, spot on. Like, it's one thing, like, you're a terrific player and all the whole thing, but you translate the game. Like, it takes a special person to be able to translate the game, and that's the gift that you have.
Thank you. I mean, I do okay. I'm not the best to follow when it comes to betting. Last night, if you'd have took my advice, you might have lost some money. But, I mean, I can break down somewhat of what I see. But there were some great games last night. The play-ins, I'm excited for the play-ins tonight. And I think, I'm going to say I hope. But the teams that I chose to win is not the teams that I hope to see win, honestly. I think a lot of people wanted to see the teams that won last night to win, except for the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, listen, forget about the betting stuff. That's all nonsense. Yeah. It's about the game, right? Like, what interests me is the game itself, right? And so let's look at, first of all, you have such a great, unique kind of vantage point because you played with Joel, You played with Tyrese. You know this
Mhm.
group. So let's talk about the Sixers and kind of how they have kind of developed now past Harden and what this iteration of this team looks like.
Well, I mean, they're always going to be good when you have Joel, right? And then Tyrese, the emergence of him. So those two guys is a great foundation. They always had, and I wouldn't say always, but they had some solid pieces around them. They just weren't healthy. You know, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton, a guy that's been out for most of the year. So they had some good pieces. Obviously, trades were made early in the season, and then trades were made late in the season. And with the absence of Joel, it's hard to have or find an identity. But Nick Nurse is the coach to do it. You know, he's the guy that they've made an addition to this past summer that will, regardless of what happens, he can figure out a way to keep guys in a rhythm or keep guys in a flow and find an identity. So that's the one advantage that they do have, regardless of who's been in or out with injuries. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. Obviously, playing games is a 50-50 toss-up. You never know who's going to show up, who's going to play well, or what's going to happen. 7-game series. So this is a team that is healthy. I would bet my money on. You know, besides to forget the gambling, but this is a team that could make some noise and come out the East. The East is so wide open with the talent they have. They could, but in this playing game, you just never know what's going to happen in a one-game series type situation.
How does a player, let's look at Joel for a second because you play with him, you know him well, and we've seen him, you know, grow into this force, into one of the most dominating players in the league. And we've also seen his maturity process, right? Like you remember when you know, back when you were at Toronto and that whole series. Now we've seen him grow and become, you know, develop a lockdown shot that he has at that elbow, which is a closer mentality. Like he's really hit 30. How does his mindset? How have you seen him grow as a player into what he is now?
I think he's just understood what it takes to be a leader as he's gotten older. You know, more of a locker room guy. I think, you know, when you have kids, the world changes for you. I think part of that has helped him understand different perspectives as well. But he knows that he has to be more involved and be a part of the group and come out of his shell. He's not a guy that really he comes out of his shell on TV when you guys see him. You know, he play around, dance maybe with the cheerleaders, stuff like that. You know, troll people on Twitter. But when it came to like actually doing team activities and doing dinners and things like that, putting things together, he wasn't a big fan of that. But I think over the years, he's kind of poured himself into that role, which, you know, we've all seen. You need that. You need that to have that camaraderie with the group and for guys to trust you and for you to lead them. So I think he's done a great job of doing more of that. You know, being involved in stuff on a team playing and team dinners and stuff like that, to be a leader and to also just be more mature in his approach of how he's taking the game. You know, sometimes he was younger, so he's able to just come to the arena and just warm up quick or just get warmed up in the first quarter. Now you have to do the small things, take care of your body, make sure prevent the injuries. And you know, I've only been around him for a couple of years, but I could tell there's been a transformation and a change, and he's come a long ways. And you can see just in the rehab process that he did with his knee and how in shape he was when he came back. So that was impressive to see. Because if he wasn't, it would have taken a lot longer, and this team would not have any chance. But I think the fact that he was in shape and he came back and took it serious, they have a shot to do some stuff. They still have a shot to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, it's not like impossible. They could still make it out of the East if guys get hot and stay healthy.
Danny, how much of an advantage is that Joel will have fresh legs? All the time off really kind of will allow him that once the playoffs pick up the pace and there's that grind and you're playing every other day and it's very taxing. Yeah. How much advantage will that Joel will have some fresh legs?
I think it's more advantage mentally. He has more of a fresh mind than legs because his legs are still getting under him. He had to play a lot of minutes as soon as he got back, and you know he had he got a chance to take a game off or two in that 8-game stretch that they were 8-0. But there's no simulation to playing basketball other than playing basketball. So during his rehab, I don't know how much 5-on-5 he got, but he definitely wasn't playing 35 minutes. He came back, played 35, played a couple 30-minute games, maybe some 40-minute games. So his legs are still pretty fresh, but they're still getting under him, and he's still getting used to the playing and the minutes. But his mind is fresh, and that's probably the hardest part of making it through the playoffs into the finals. So he'll be fresh. He'll have the energy to have his mind in a good space. Because going through an 82 game season is not easy to do, and then playoffs and try to beat a team 4 times, multiple series over and over. So that's where the advantage comes in. Other guys they had wrestling as well that had injuries. They're more fresh, and so the energy. So they're in a positive space because they haven't been healthy all year with everybody. Now they have that, and it's like, all right, we finally got what we wanted at this time of year. So let's see what we can make happen. And I said I could see them. They could be surprising some people in that first and second round.
Well, and the other thing too is when Joel was out, Maxey was forced to carry the load, right? Like, everybody ran at Maxey. Maxey was forced to carry this entire team, and now all of a sudden he gets Joel back. So now he is the perfect co-star, I think, next to Joel. That his game, he's proven to everyone that he could play that role next to Joe.
Well, he's a special player, and regardless of who's on that floor, but it only opens up the floor even more for him when you have Joel. But it opens the floor for everybody. That's just the attention that Joe brings, And this is the first time some of those guys have gotten a chance to play with him, and they're still figuring him out. The Kyle Lowrys, the Campaigns, the Buddy Hields, those guys since the trade deadline haven't got a chance to play with him. So those guys are now getting better looks, open looks. Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre, those guys are getting better looks. They've had to play, half the season damn near without him. And, kind of, I would say force up shots, but, getting shots that they normally wouldn't get if he was on the floor. But now that he's on the floor, they're getting different and probably more open looks, so especially with Tyrese. So Tyrese is a special player, but you have both those guys on the floor, and makes your team that much more dynamic and opens up everything for everybody to get better looks.
I'm curious about something, and you'd be perfect guy to kind of discuss it. When you play with a guy like Maxey, right? Like when Joe, because Joe has had to play with Simmons, and we know Ben's warts. He's had to play with James Harden. We know Hall of Fame player, but there were spells when, he would sag, stuff wasn't falling, right? Maxey has this incredible joy, and he's pretty even keel. Even if his shot's not falling, he never droops. How important is that, do you think, in the long term with an Embiid when he had to play with those 2 other guys?
Huge, man, because your energy and your attitude is everything in this league. And like I said, James was, I think, another very good complementary player for Joel. But I think you see at times James, when he's not in his rhythm, you could see his mood or energy can affect the game some, or can affect Joel's play some. But I think a lot of guys were really good with Joel. I think James was, and Tyree. I think those 2 guys are probably the 2 best teammates that he's had complimentary wise, outside of Tobias being there so long with them together. But those 2 guys said are very similar. Tyrese just has a sunshine to him and an energy to him that, regardless of things are not going good or not, guys are happy to play with him, and they're okay with the results. So that makes the game a lot easier. That makes it easier to go into battle with somebody and to fight for somebody or to fight with somebody. So, it's a lot of fun watching him grow, man. It's a lot of fun watching him play. I'm a big fan of his game. I think everybody is. Man, I'd love to see where he's at. Obviously, he's in running for most improved player. I would love to see him get that and get even more everything he deserves. But he's a special player that can really take this franchise to new heights.
Yeah, I remember you had a great fondness for him. Like when you were playing with him, you could tell that you got joy from him. Like
there's not many people that don't have a fondness for Tyrese. He's just, I said, he's a sunshine man in Philly. You don't see a lot of it, so he has that energy that people love, man. And the fan base loves him, the team loves him, all the teammates. And I said I got a chance to be lucky enough to have him as a rookie and see him come from the bottom of where he was, and he's not a guy that ever loses confidence. He's always going to be happy and have confidence. But to see, where he's still figuring it out, and I've seen him from that stage to now, which is I said you don't get to experience that often when it comes to superstars.
Let's talk about Nick Nurse for a second, because you played for Nick. You brought him up earlier. I think he brings something that's different than we've had. Brett was kind of like the steward to kind of get you through the process kind of piece of it. And then Doc's, I think Doc was better all out of games. Like, he helped Tyrese grow.
Mm-hmm.
He helped Joel get that elbow lockdown shot. But in game is kind of where Nick Nurse really flourishes. Would you agree?
I think that's a safe space or safe thing to say, to be fair. I mean, all those guys were real good coaches, I think. Brett Brown was great for the rebuild. So Doc was good with her player empowerment and encouragement and building a player up and molding a guy like a Tyrese Maxey to be where he is. And so Nick Nurse, they all kind of do the same, but Nick Nurse is more outside the box and adjustment, X's and O's, and not afraid to try new things. So he's kind of unpredictable. So, yeah, I think it's a fair thing to say about Nick.
That's something like we haven't really had in the game. And this is, and I'll ask you this because you played here, you've followed this team closely. Is this their best chance moving forward to get out of the second round?
No, I mean, so this year has been very up and down, and I think when you keep Joel and Tyrese there, you have a great foundation. I don't know what moves they plan to make this summer. Joel is not old. Tyrese is still very young. Hopefully, Joel will have better health years. If he was healthy all year, I would say so. But we had a really good chance when we had Ben. We played Atlanta. That series, we could have been. I got hurt. I had a calf strain. I think if I don't get hurt,
it was Father's Day, Danny. They
Yeah.
ruined my whole Father's Day.
Yeah, I think we had a really good shot then, and then even after that, they had really good shots. They had a shot last year against Boston. So yeah, they've had instances and really good opportunities, and I think they'll continue to be presented to this group as long as you have Joel and he's not older. So he's got a window of probably another 2 or 3, like 3 years, right? So you got 2 or 3 more years to keep him and Tyrese together and see what you can bring in around them. And that's going to be interesting. I don't know who's going to be available. People are looking at Clay, looking at Paul George, those type of guys to be around them. So are you going to bring back Tobias? It's interesting moves that they need to make and see. And that's where, Daryl, the moving pieces guy, he does where his work comes into play. So we'll see what he has cooked up in store in the kitchen.
Do you like that sort of stuff, that roster construction? See now, because I can see you're a cerebral guy. So how pieces that fit together?
Are you trying to put me in front office, my man? I mean, everybody's a GM in Philly. I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I don't mind it, but I heard it's a different type of stress as well. I want to be, I wouldn't say relied upon to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the one to blame when things, but I think everybody, when you're watching the games, everybody plays GM. Everybody loves the reconstruction roster, what needs to, but I don't think I'd be bad at it. I don't mind it. And some guys play video games on GM mode, but yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for the front office just yet.
How good's Boston? Like, listen, you're talking to someone
really
that
good.
Hates Boston, right? Like hates them. They are so good, and it just is a killer.
They're really good, man. But even them being really good, they still can be beat. There's still some vulnerability. There's still some flaws there, and not many holes, but there are some that people can get through and see through if you have a pretty good, well-coached, disciplined team. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of those in the East, so we will see what happens. And Boston said you talked about Tyrese. If his shot's not falling, he still finds a way to float. Boston, if their shot's not falling, they're not floating well. They're kind of live and die by the 3 type of team. The first team in NBA history to have a full 48 game and not attempt a free throw. So that's kind of glaring. So if you're a team that can limit their threes or hold them to shooting threes poorly for 4 games out of the 7, you give yourself a chance if you play decent defense and if you can score.
Yeah.
So, they have a good team, but I think they lack some depth. And so they're really good. Don't get me wrong, they're really good. They have a few small holes and a little bit of vulnerability, which is that they're not unbeatable.
Yeah, Porzingis and Drew Holiday to go along with Derek White with that crew. And last year they had him beat Danny. Game 6, it was there. It was there for the taking. Oh, God, Danny, they could have beat him in Game 6. And then Tatum, because remember, Tatum was cold the whole game up until the last 2.5 minutes.
Eventually, he's gonna get hot. Yeah, he got hot. Eventually, he's gonna take enough shots where that worm was gonna turn. But yeah, they had it. They had everything they needed. And said sometimes you guys go cold, but you got to find ways to make defensive stops, make winning plays. So I mean, hopefully this year. If not, said you have 2 more years probably to get that done.
So do you miss us in Philadelphia? Like the one thing that we do that I love is we get into it. Like it matters here, right? Like the energy. Like you felt it at Wells Fargo. People, we love this sort of thing.
100%, man. I feel like my relationship with the Philly fans is very love-hate relationship. It probably started out as, I'm gonna say hate at first, but it started out not so rocky. But they came in and they embraced me and they showed me a lot of love, especially during my last playoff series or so and my last times of coming back after injury. Man, it said I can't ever not love the city of Philly and the fans of Philly the way they showed me so much love coming back. When I was on the other team, when I was a Cleveland Cavalier, they gave me a standing ovation. And I said during the playoff run, after COVID, I caught at a different time. But yeah, man, I do enjoy playing for those fans and in front of that, in that arena and in that city. So yeah, I do miss the fan base. I do miss the city some. So yeah, so it's a love-hate relationship with them. But everybody in Philly's a GM.
No, everybody loves.
No hate.
No hate.
No
There's
hate.
no hate.
It's just blue collar, man. You know how it is. They show tough love. So when you have coaches or teammates or fans that show you tough love, it's one of those, you love them. You know they want the best for you, but at the same breath, you're not the most excited to be like get criticized all the time.
You know what it is. The town wants players to want to win as much as they do. Like it's an obsession, right? Like it really is. Like
and I don't know what gives them the vibe that the players don't.
Well,
I mean,
listen,
guys are trying, guys want to win. They just some guys have bad
right?
nights.
Like you are a guy that wanted to win always, right? Joel, like Maxey, or Ben didn't jive. Like Ben didn't jive with the town, and I mean,
I get some guys.
Relationship.
I get some guys that they were hard on and understand why, but there's some guys. I mean, they're hard on. I feel like everybody's fair, which I appreciate. They do show tough love. They're hard on everybody pretty fairly, regardless if you want to win or not. They want to win, and they're too smart for their own good. So everybody's a really good GM. They know the game really well, and that's why they're able to critique guys the way they are.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, they're into it. They know the game is right. Danny, I got to tell you, I love this, man. You a lot of fun. This suits you. All right. So
thank you. Yeah, hopefully, man, we'll see. I mean, I'm not done playing. I have not officially hung them up yet, so we'll see what happens, what's in store for me in the next coming year or so. And if not, that you'll probably be seeing me. That eventually I'll be doing this full time, but right now it's part time or freelance guy. So you see me doing Yahoo, ESPN, Odyssey, TN with stuff with Turner, Betcast, different random stuff. I'm just trying it out to see how it goes. And so far it's been fun, man. It's a new challenge. I like it. I enjoy it. But I think I still have a couple good years left in the legs after taking a year or so off and doing all that rehab. I didn't do all that rehab to just sit on the side and hang them up, So I'm trying to give another year or two. We'll see what happens.
Well, the good thing is that the Eel, Daryl Morey, has a blank slate, right? We got like a clean blank slate to build around Tyrese and Joel, and a guy that can shoot the three and play D. Just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. We don't know what Daryl's going to do, but I highly doubt Daryl's going to want the old guy back. And so I might have to take my talents elsewhere. Who knows? But we'll see what happens.
As a role guy, come in and play, 8-10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I know where I'm at in life, and I'm not trying to be a superstar. So that's just the role has always been the role for me, and obviously less of a role than it has been in the past. But just want to hoop and want to hoop before I call it quits.
I wish you the best, man. I hope that happens for you. And I want to bother you toward the as the playoffs go on with this team. So it's a true pleasure, buddy. All right, best of luck to you, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Danny Green. I love it, man. Good stuff. Danny Green checking in.
Good interview.
Yeah, he's interesting. Like, listen, he's a cerebral guy, knows the game inside and out, and he has a perspective, right? Like the perspective of having, being able to see it, play for Nick Nurse, play with Joel Embiid, play with Tyrese Maxey.
And if you were one of these people that felt a little nervous about something, you definitely feel good after hearing Danny Green get the expertise of Danny Green here. And yeah, I you know what? Because I'd love to see him on TV as well. He does a good job with that.
He does. He's good. What'd you think, VG?
I love him. He's great at it. Like, you're always concerned, or not concerned, but so many players try and transition into broadcasting.
Yeah.
And the analysis part of it, but he's really good. He's entertaining, and like, I don't turn him off when he comes on. I mean, he's not legs yet.
Well, nobody's legs.
Yeah, he's good.
Nobody's legs. By the way, I'm like legs. I was texting with legs last night. I'm like, dude, what's the schedule? He's like, dude, ESPN.
He's on all day.
All day.
All day.
He's like, I don't know what to do.
Every show.
I was like, I don't. He goes like, I got on this one. I got on that one. I got Dan Patrick. I got this one. I'm like, all right. Like, we got to figure this out, dude.
Yeah, now, come on, hometown. Like, come on, come back.
No, he's my mate. So we got to make sure that happens. Yeah, but I thought, and we'll get into it because then with the clubhouse. But I thought he was interesting when it like he admitted to the Harden thing, and he did it. Like I would never try to get anybody to trash anyone else because that's not right. Like you know how it is. I've never played that. I've always been above board and when it comes to that stuff. But it is true, and with Harden, and he was prone to those mood swings, and Danny said it. And I thought that was really interesting and telling, and that it's hard, and that played a part into what Joel was like.
Well, that's really tough to deal with when you have a teammate who's just got mood swings like that, and like, if anyone comes in here, if you're in a horrible, hellacious mood, like me and JP don't want to be around.
No, brutal. Well, I'm never like that.
No. The espresso helps.
But listen, I've worked, like, there's people like, that would have wild mood swings. And you come in, you go,
It makes work hell.
Yeah.
But this is a work environment.
Like, the one thing, it's in any job, but particularly, on a floor where you got to be with someone and play. Yeah. Or, like, if you're doing something like this where you're dependent on energy and mood.
Yeah, there's a whole rhythm going on.
Right. And like, that whole... Like, I'm a big believer in energy and positive energy and bringing it into a room because I think it's important. I think other people need to feed off of it.
It's contagious.
Yeah, for sure.
And Harden, Harden, and Ben had the same sag. And and that was my only beef.
It's a great word, sag, the Ben sag.
He had to sag.
Sag.
And my other, and listen, that's my only beef with McNabb was he had a mope. He was McMope at times.
By the way, it's his anniversary of him getting drafted today.
Yeah.
McMope.
At times he was McMope. That was my biggest problem with it. Listen, he was a super kid. Like when he first got drafted and all that stuff, I went out to his house in Chicago. Like awesome. I never disliked him or anything. And I actually liked him a lot. I think there were circumstances that changed his course and changed his personality, that he soured. Like early 5, he was awesome. And then, stuff got to him. Right. And like, it's human nature. And so I'll never hold it against him. But the sag, you can't sag. I have this, listen, I tell my kids that I coach, like, I don't want to see you sag. Right. You miss a shot, right? Or you throw a wild pitch or whatever it is, you give up a home run, no sag.
There's a greater good out there, You got to get over that.
You do. First of all, for your own self, you got to get over it if you're a young athlete. But no sag. Sag brings your team down. Brings your team.
Not a foxhole guy.
The best with McNabb was every time it was like an interception bat play, he'd be like, my bad.
Lots of smiling, too. He's always smiling.
No, I don't want to go there. I was just talking about the Harden bang sag. Yeah.
No sags here, guys.
No sag. No sag.
No moping, no sag.
We don't have to worry about that with JP.
Yeah, never. But no, Embiid's got a little bit. It's an infectious on him, the mope.
Yeah, that's why Maxey counteracts it.
Yes.
No mope with the Embiid.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen any mope out of him at all.
No, not this year.
No, because of Tyrese.
Yep.
He's the antidote. Maximus.
Love
Maxey
it.
Moss.
Love it.
Let me tell you about the Bet Park Sportsbook app, shall we? Oh, the big brain chimed in. He he gave a bunch of props. I'll share during the clubhouse. All the stuff that he does during the daily grind, you could play on the Bet Park Sportsbook app. So tonight, Sixers 5.5. All right, that line started at 4.5. It's now up to 5.5. It's a Sixer line all the way. I like him. Now you can build the same game parlay. You know what I like? I like Maxey tonight because I think they're going to be down. Now, not having Rozier to guard Maxey, I think is a big deal. Right? We're talking matchups, and if you're going to go hero on Maxey, Maxey could scorch him. So I'm looking at matchups. I like Maxey's over and his points. So I think you ride Tyreek's. If you're looking to build a same game parlay, he likes Jimmy Butler under the big brain.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. The only thing that scares me is that I think he'll be more of a focal point in scoring. So I'm really not in love with that. But I love Tyrese over. And, I would look along those lines. And then, like, any of your Joel props is always there. Hey, download the Bet Parks app. Win your first $10 bet. Earn $125 in sportsbook bonus bets. Look, you play for fun. You love to win. You bet. Bet Parks. They have it all, man. Whether it's in-game play, where you can see the rhythm of the game going and then play it, the same game parlays, money lines, and all the props that you can handle, because we all love the props. Download the app. Play along with us. Got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, now, what are we going to do for the game tonight, right? If you're going to be home watching the game, you need food. You're going to watch with your friends. Like, I'm going to go over to my cousin's tonight and watch the game. So I go over to Cousin Joe. I'm going to bring Primo's, right? The great taste of Primo hoagies. Sports food. It doesn't get better than Primo's. Always baked on that bread. The bread has always been the key to the sandwich. Dating back to the early 90s when Primo's first was born on Ritter Street in South Philadelphia, it was always the bread. And they always made these hoagies that were just bursting from the seams. And, unlike other areas of life, shrinkflation never happens with Primo's, man. You always get the big Primo hoagie. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. That's why it's always the quality of ingredients, the finest meats and cheeses on their award-winning seeded roll. And Primo's committed to crafting sandwiches that sets the standard for excellence. Become a Primo Rewards member. Get $2 off Primo-size hoagies every Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. You got a game tonight. Nothing better. Tip off. And you open up the wrapper, and it just comes wafting off the great taste of Primo hoagies. Go to primohoagies.com. You can cater all your spring events, graduation parties, you name it, Little League Baseball, whatever it is, primohoagies.com. And you'll say what I always say. It's not just a hoagie. It's a Primo. All right. Now it's time to go into the clubhouse with the fellas. First of all, I need VG, the vibe of the fans. What's going on
Strong
the chat
out there, man. Everyone's feeling pretty good. There's like one or two people who are concerned, but overall, everyone's super positive in the chat room. So
Love it.
yeah,
Infectious, cuz.
yeah, people feeling confident. Yeah,
Listen, I think there's a reason. I think it's legitimate to feel
You're
confident.
not worried about the Heat culture.
Not worried about Jimmy. Who's Jimmy?
No, for losing without Rozier is a big deal.
That's big.
That's a big loss for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Duncan Robinson also probable. I also saw Josh Richardson, but he's also out as well. But yeah, it's a little thin over there.
Well, I mean, there's no excuses. Like, this is it. It's one game. Go out and win the game.
Win.
You're playing good ball. You're on a roll. You got to go win.
I think Lowry's important tonight too. I mean, this is why he's here. He's got the experience, the toughness. I think he plays a good role tonight.
Love him, Maxey.
Well, Lowry's interesting because I talked with Kyle about this. Lowry as that secondary ball handler, as a guy that has been through wars, right? He's older, but he's been through wars. he has a calmness about him.
Yes.
And that stuff, that's important come playoff time.
Yeah, like quiet, calm confidence, That's infectious.
Yep.
Nick Nurse's coach out there on the court.
Totally. Best and worst of the evening, like we do all the time. I'll start with you, JP. What was your best of the evening last night?
I want to start with the Phils. Obviously, we're all geeking over Ranger Suarez. It was a great performance that he had out there. But I think we need to show some love to Rob Thompson because, going into the ninth inning, I was a little worried if he was going to pull him at 86 pitches, and he didn't. He left him out there in the ninth, and we obviously saw him complete the game. And I think we got to give some love to Rob Thompson because this analytical day that we live in, it could have been easy to pull him out.
Love Topper, love it.
Show some love. People left him in there.
We should have left him in. He's like,
But you don't never know with Topper.
I'm sorry. Listen, this is not anti-Topper, but you get no points for leaving him in when you should leave him in.
Yeah, but
where do we come now that we go, for the right decision, you get love?
Because he has shown that he would pull out a guy like Ranger Suarez.
That's the wrong decision.
right.
Right, like that would have been wrong.
So we're getting some development, cuz. He's leading
Nah,
the steps.
Man, we're taking baby steps. You got
no love. Like I go, good, all right. Like good job. Like you didn't bleep up. Like,
did the right thing.
And I'm not even saying it like in that sense. And I'm talking more general and not just Topper. It's not even about that. It's more like big picture. We do this across the board, which I think is a violation. Like, if you do the right decision, why we have to get love for that?
some praise, laud the right decisions. I mean, I did have some anxiety. I sit in 111 for my partial plan so I can see the bullpen, and I'm seventh inning. I'm looking at the pitch count, looking at the bullpen, no activity. Eighth inning, check the pitch count because I'm expecting Topper to pull them.
No, listen, I felt the same way. Yeah. I did. I felt the same way. And I'm just talking about it as a general practice, not just from Topper, that if you do the right decision, that's the right decision. That's
we don't cheer for that. We just boo the bad stuff.
It's 2024.
Yeah, I'm feeling the love of this younger generation. Yeah. Boost those confidence levels.
of a grown man.
Well, listen. Also,
that's your job. Joel hits a 3. Like you're great.
We
job.
applaud. Yeah, people at the arena. Yeah,
but Joel wins the game with a dominant performance. Embiid, you get all the love in the world.
I mean, he's not going Topper. I mean, give Topper a little bit of love for it.
Proud of Topper not pulling. And listen,
a little fist
because
bump.
Ranger also he threw 26 pitches that night.
Topper a fist bump, but I mean, again, I think the love's too strong.
All right. I got more for you.
All right, who do you got?
Don't ruin him. He's full of good energy and love. Don't ruin him. Don't ruin him.
You know what's funny? As I get caught, I'm always the Jolly Charlie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But next to him,
you're a curmudgeon.
Really?
I love it.
VG, what's the best of the night?
The best, man. I really enjoyed that Kings Warriors game. I like seeing the Warriors lose. I like the
loved it.
Atmosphere. I mean, Clay went. Did you have no points last night? Clay looked terrible. And the vibe in the arena in Sacramento just got me fired up. I'm ready to go for this game tonight.
They have a good environment.
I loved it. Yeah. I love that.
Draymond.
Do they still do the purple beam?
Yes.
Do they still do the purple beam in Sacramento? Remember they were doing last
Oh,
year?
I didn't see any of the purple
That's pretty cool
beam.
too.
Yes.
They did?
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good job.
No, but the Warriors, listen, God bless them. They were amazing.
Yeah, they had their
It's fun to watch.
Incredible staff, the whole thing. But it's like any other dynasty, right? Like it's impossible for them not to become hate the faces.
Like I could be like JP, feel a little sad for them because they looked bad last night.
No sad.
But no.
Like that's where you gotta stop. Like no sad. No sadness.
Oh, I'm not sad over the Warriors.
All right.
Steph's a nice guy. You don't want to see him lose.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I want to see him lose, and I want to see the Lakers lose.
Yes.
Yeah, they won it. I'm like, I can't. Speaking of hate the faces, Lakers are a hate the face squad for me.
Totally. The whole squad.
No, listen. This is what it's come down. It's playoffs, man.
Playoffs.
All right.
And this is what, you have so many people say, I only watch the fourth quarter of the NBA. I'll wait for the playoffs. The playoffs are here now. Now's the time.
well,
Everyone's
that's
got
right.
to kick it up a gear now.
All right. Worst of the evening.
Worst of the evening. I'm gonna go with the obvious one. Me.
You for what?
Going with the Shane Goss's spare love, and obviously,
Conjuring.
yeah.
Did you
And
see The Conjuring? That's a scary ass.
It's been a while, but yes, I did watch that.
All of them. Have you seen?
I
all
didn't
of
see
them?
them all. I saw the first one.
There's some scare. That's some scare. Anytime you deal with like demonic possession.
Oh yeah.
Like
I saw.
I can tell you, I
Creeps
don't
you
want
out?
to. I don't want.
That creeps you out?
dude,
Yeah.
I'm out of that.
Slasher films.
Slasher films are they're
You can do
ridiculous, right? But
What are you talking
demonic.
like there's not There's more chances of slashers going around our
Without a
society
doubt.
than demonic
Yeah, but
takeovers.
I don't want to mess with some demonic. Like I'm out on the demon.
Like zombies and stuff.
I was 11 years old when I saw Exorcist.
Demons, though.
Demons get you.
Yeah, like, I'm out on a demon.
Exorcist
Who's
killed
in
me.
on demons? I'm out on the demon.
Well, he's
I'm a
conjuring
big
up
demon
those.
guy. Big demon guy over here.
I put it past you.
Now I'm just gonna put my face on a Conjuring movie board.
You
Do
know
it.
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
it, Andrew. Do it. You brought up the ghost.
I did.
You brought him up. You conjured him.
He had a big play, and Detroit
How
gets the
how does that
tie.
happen?
3 seconds left. Montreal, you couldn't do it. And the worst part is, you know who's goalie for Montreal? It's Keith Primo's kid.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It'll get worse than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the worst of the night.
He's got
For
some
that one.
power. He speaks the name. And
Ooh.
Didn't it work? It worked with something else. What else did you do? Last week? Didn't you do something last week?
no, that was me ranting on Rojas.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. You were Rojas.
yeah,
You
yeah.
summoned Rojas.
Yeah.
But you're positive.
I was
You might
ranting
be
on him.
positive.
Yeah. I got
and
positive outcomes.
result. Right. It makes sense because he's lovable by nature, but he conjures bad things. And you're the opposite.
I'm
You're not
miserable.
lovable, but you have
We're like the magnet, man.
the yin
Positive
and the yang.
negative, yeah.
You are a yang. Give me your worst.
My worst was I was at the ballpark. People leaving in the top of the ninth with
Stone violation.
Ranger about to do it. And the game, if it was a long game, this game was cruising. It was 2 hours and 7 minutes. So you're talking 8:30, 8:40. People are trying to get home, leaving. It's a complete game shutout we have going on. He's dealing.
History?
So we have video?
Yeah.
All
It
right,
is.
so Andrew, let's see the video.
It was not just
That's
that
a
aisle.
disgrace.
It was every aisle had people running for the parking.
How,
What?
How do you
Dude, this
do that?
was
First
a
of all-
monumental
At that
game of
game,
the
like,
season.
let me
All
load
things.
Andrew here. I'll give love to Andrew, our producer, because Andrew is wearing a Steve Carlton
Dude,
throwback
that is
jersey.
sick, bro.
Right now, yeah.
It's great.
Had to. Got to give love to the pitchers today. Come on.
No, and I
That's
love
sick.
that fact that you're doing that. He did it because of Ranger, right? How could you leave a? First of all, complete games are so rare these days.
For
A
sure.
complete game shutout.
That's why I praise Topper.
It's going to be the only
Oh
one.
my God.
It's going to be the only one we see all year, most likely. I mean, chances are. And if you're in the ballpark with your kid, and if you got kids, what kind of example are you setting
No,
for
you
these kids?
cannot leave. You cannot. No, you cannot leave. Now, like Julia, who welcome back, Julia.
Yeah.
Julia, our executive producer, is back. She was off for a couple days. She has Phillies everything. She's got Philly slides.
Yeah, she's got the crew neck too.
And now you would never leave, correct, Julia? Never. Like she would never even think of it.
Mm-mm.
And they're like, that's a violation.
I get irritated when you see a win, just stick around and sing high hopes with us.
Yeah.
What do you got to get out of the ballpark for? You're here. And I go, I'm singing.
So it's something that I've always I agree with this. If you make the effort to go down to a game,
Yes.
right? You're there. Like where else? Like you've already made the decision that I got to get up the next day. It's going to be a later night, so you deal
Gotta
with
prepare
it, right?
yourself,
Like,
yeah.
like I got to get up early. Okay, well then don't go to the game.
Right.
Like if you're going to go to the game, go to the game and make the night. Be all in.
And I get it. It was a nightmare getting down there because the Flyers were also there.
Well, tonight's
But
going to be
all
the
you
same
got to do
thing.
is check your
Even
phone.
worse.
It's 8:30. Complete game shut's about to start, and the Flyers were still in a second intermission. There's no way you're going to get jammed up with Flyers traffic.
Do they have the Flyers game in those TVs like in the Like in
I didn't see any
Touchdowns.
Flyers thing happening anywhere
Anywhere.
down there. Yeah.
No?
is that
Nah, I
possible?
was just watching on my phone. Yeah.
You
show
were,
Flyers love Phils. Come on,
no, you should. That's the 4 for 4 thing, man.
but like
You got it. You need. I agree. You know, I
put
think
them
you're
on the
right.
TVs
That's what they have to. They have
Well,
so
tonight-
many. They have so many LED screens at this point. There are ads and stuff everywhere. They
Yeah.
need to have Sixers updates the entire. Like the score should just be on the board somewhere the entire game tonight
Yes.
in the ballpark.
Yeah,
the
no,
out-of-town
I-
scoreboard. Put it right
No, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
the out of town scoreboard.
No, without a doubt. Like, you need. That's true. No, you need to do that. Tonight's going to be a bit of a headache because you got Phils and you got Sixers.
That's right.
And right around they're 20 minutes apart.
An actual playoff game tonight for the Sixers too. So it's gonna be wild in South Philly. Are you going tonight?
I'm checking StubHub tickets. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm watching prices
Game
drop a
time.
little
Gotta
bit.
go.
Oh, game time. Yeah,
Check out the game time, right?
Game
JP?
time app. Yeah, those are
That's the
friends
way
over
to
there.
do it.
Yeah. And
This-
take a subway. I mean, if you could take a train down, it's so much easier. It's so easy. I'm back in Center City in like 10 minutes. I can get anywhere from Center City.
Yeah, Broad Street's nice.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Rite Aid and your local Rite Aid pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy. Check out riteaid.com.
Grabbed some toothpaste at Rite Aid yesterday.
Did you?
Hey.
You see Marge?
Saw Marge. Yep.
Saw
She's the
Marge?
daytime. Yep.
I love a Marge. Marge is always like strong,
Strong.
right? Always like a
she's
backbone.
got a chiseled face with a short, tight hair, like salt and,
a
pepper.
and a backbone to society,
Oh, yes.
right? The world needs Marges.
True.
Without a doubt. All right, a couple things. Let's go because, well, it's the Sixers playoffs. And I want to relive our favorite and worst Sixers playoff moments. All right. So I got to start with, like, I don't know what's worse. I've had a series of stabbings by this team dating back to when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When in 1984, well, actually, I'll start in 1981, losing a 3-1 lead to the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1982, well, that was to beat LA. And then in 1984, when they won it
Nets.
in 83 and they lose to the Nets.
Yeah.
And then later they lost to the Knicks, who they're going to play. And they were sweeping the floor. The Sixers got swept by the freaking Knicks and Michael Ray Richardson.
Oh, good name.
Like horrible, right? But if you just keep it modern, right? Forget all the past. Just keep it from this group. I don't know what's worse. The Kawhi joint in. I don't know if it's Ben Simmons staring at a basket.
Wow, you're really giving some
like
some tough
he's
ones here.
staring at the rim.
Ugh.
And like, you just got to flush it, man. And he looks and he sees little Trey Young and he passes the ball. And it was, it was mind boggling, right? To lose that game. I don't know if it's game 6 and Melton, well, really, it's Harden's fault, but Melton missing wide open shot after shot and Harden sagging, right? Sagging during the whole thing. I don't know what's worse of this whole even Joel, right? The Toronto series, like they had, like that was over. Sixers had the lead, dude. Like if I look at all the stabbings, right? There's been a lot of stabbings.
That's why I'm afraid of slasher films.
Ah.
But man, I try and
So
block
Sixers.
all this out of my head. I try to keep none of this in my
it's
head.
all
and-
part of it.
I know. I'm like, oh
it's
my gosh, there's another
springtime,
one he's got.
man.
I thought I was good with just the triple doink.
But
and
what
you're
was
like,
what's the worst? If I say what's the
The
worst, what's
doink
the
for
worst?
me is the worst. That was just ridiculous.
I mean, definitely the double doink. I mean, that's probably the worst, one of the worst moments in Sixers history. But I mean, for me, I look at last year. Like, how do you you just need one shot in that fourth quarter,
Dude,
something.
they were begging. The Celtics were begging to give you that game. Begging to give you the game.
Make a couple baskets would have been done. You would have been in the Eastern
And up
Conference
until
Finals.
it's hate him. And like you knew it too. Like you knew deep down in your soul. Like you knew at some point he was going to get hot, right?
yes.
And-
Oh, that's right.
and
It's cold
as-
in that game.
And as he's playing, as the game's going on and he's missing shots, you're going, all right, well, you got to take advantage of this possession. You got to take advantage of this. Come on,
Yep.
let's go.
It's coming. It's
and
coming.
they couldn't. And it was Melton, brick. And then there was Harden, turnover, right? Shot clock dwindling. And yin yang in the basketball. Oh, and the shot clock is going 7, 6. And then he passes in his bad shot, and you're like, oh my God, another lost possession. And it was torturous.
Well, he was just gassed from trying so hard, Harden, he just gave it all he had and just gassed at the not moping at all.
Celtics, man. All these, I'm thinking of all these, like that series last year, the bubble in 2020.
But you had Horford. Like, are you kidding me? Oh, the bubble. Oh, the bubble was gross. I mean, that was just gross.
I'm going to need a drink after this segment.
It's depressing. Now, all right, let's look at the good. Let's look at the good. Give me some good.
Some good. I'm gonna go with
Iverson.
Iverson was definitely
Step over.
Yeah, I mean the step over.
Bucks.
I'm gonna go
Pacers. Like that year, that whole run in 01 was amazing.
I'm going to go with that Raptor series, but game 3, I just remember vividly because I remember where I was. I remember the vibes that it was. But Joel drops 33, and it was in the Wells Fargo. So the big guy was just having so much fun out there. And that's at that moment I was like, all right, we're gonna win this series. There's no way we lose this series. Like Joel's playing really good. Jimmy's having fun as well. But then of course the double doink later on. But that game 3, it sticks in my mind at home.
Yeah, it was a great moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's old, but I have to say it first and give props, man. 83, the Mo Cheeks final layup, or he dunked it.
If we're
right?
gonna go that, he dunked it.
Yeah. So it's just that energy, but it's got to be
the smile. Well,
he's like leaping.
Have you ever watched it? Have you ever watched
I've watched the
Comcast
highlights.
Sports? Not like
I watched the full game, but I watched the highlights.
So you go on YouTube. Right, because YouTube's the greatest, right? You have everything. It's just an amazing library of our society.
It's like the new microfiche. Remember, we go to the library and look up stuff on microfiche. You just go and look it up on YouTube.
It's the greatest thing in the world, man.
I don't know what microfiche is.
Yeah, no, you. Why would you? Right?
I'll be honest. I do get jealous of you guys, especially in the early, because there were some fun moments in the early '80s in Philly sports.
Well, early 80s basketball, I mean, I don't think there's anything like the NBA
too.
early 80s. Just
Birds made their first Super Bowl. Phillies won the World Series. Like, that seemed like a fun time.
Oh, amazing time. It really was an amazing time. But I will say this. Go back and watch it, because understanding that Julius Erving, right? I saw they had the doc come out. Now, I have to ask you if we forgave the doc, because there was a lot of...
I'm good with the doc.
Thank you.
Yes, I thought the doc was taking some shots that he didn't need to be...
Because back when I was doing it, last year at this point, last 2 years, like Chunis would bring the doc to...
because
on trial. Like we had the trial of Julius.
I remember the trial
over
of
Embiid.
That was silly stuff, man. Doc's fine.
All right, so you're good with Doc too?
I'm good with Doc, yeah.
Right.
Gotta be good with Doc. We need to.
Andrew, we didn't live that though. Like, we love Doc because we watched the highlights and we just see the yam, and like that was all fun.
Sure. But it was his comments on Embiid, and if Embiid could actually...
the MVP.
MVP thing, yeah. Forget about it. He's fine.
Like you got to be all... the thing about the Doc, why he went on trial, was about loyalty.
Right.
Because the one thing that we are in this town is loyal.
Oh, yeah.
All right? But that whole championship run, they had been through it. Like,
oh, yeah.
They had been so close, so close, so close. And then, and Julius had never won an NBA title. And so it was like this coronation.
Moses, the prophet.
Yeah,
Moses, the prophet comes in.
He was the man.
Yes, he was.
He was the man, Moses. But it's like, what's amazing? And is this a fair statement? As great as all those guys, like Moses was amazing, Hall of Fame, Julius Erving, Hall of Fame, Charles, Hall of Fame, Iverson, Hall of Fame.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The Beast is better.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
He's the best Sixer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't
the most
argue with that.
dominating force.
And Moses was dominant, but in a different way.
Like some flaming J.O. was, he trolled. Oh, Jokic is better. Learn the game, right? Okay, cuz. Right? Like, what the amazing thing that Embiid does. Listen, this doesn't take anything away from Jokic. He's a great player.
For sure.
Right? But look at how Embiid has improved his game. all right, from passing out of the double team. Let's take nuance. Like, forget just sheer scoring ability and the fact that he's got a lockdown face the basket and could do all the stuff that Jokic has the same touch. But look at how he passes out of the double team now. Look at how he protects the basketball. Early on, there was an issue recognizing the double,
he
right?
was so slow with recognizing the double.
He was.
And he couldn't find the open guy.
Right.
Yep.
No, but look at him now.
Yeah.
Look at his growth as a player. It's unbelievable. And the dude shoots 90% from the line.
His IQ has definitely increased, but more importantly, too, cuz, like, yes, offensively, we know what he does, but he's one of the best defense players in the game as well.
When you think about Jokic, what Jokic doesn't do is impact the game from that end of the floor.
Yep.
He could be a liability at times, too, on that end.
Of course.
I mean, not only just as a rim protector and a half-court offense, but also you see Embiid getting back on a fast break from behind, swatting balls. Swat.
What do you think that was born from?
Yeah.
Swat. But my only point is, he is like we can't gloss over scoring 70. Like that's just not a gloss over thing. Like, oh, all right, he scored 70. Like, it's today's game. He's an amazing, dominating force. He's the best player that has ever put on that uniform.
Can we say a prayer for Bam Adebayo tonight?
Oh, here he goes. He's honoring his name. If Bam goes off for 30 tonight, it's you.
Oh, my God.
Why would you say that? JP!
Because I'm confident, cuz. I got confidence today.
What's wrong with this kid? What's the matter?
Now,
with
if it does happen, then we can all have fun, but I have confidence.
He's channeling. Got to stop him.
Don't conjure. You're worrying me, man.
He's getting that graphic
You can't
together
conjure.
right now.
No conjuring.
No conjuring. Come on.
No prayers for Bam.
Why would you say that?
Because I have confidence in Joe doing that.
VJ,
we better.
If we lose tonight,
I
it's
need
not because
you to
Bam's doing his
spend
thing.
time with him. All right?
Yeah, make him a little more miserable.
Right? I love JP. You need to make sure you give him some guidance.
I'll do my best to make him miserable.
Like, don't do that. Like, when the Sixers win tonight and they play the Knicks, let's not talk about Jalen Brunson.
No.
All right? Let's not conjure up anything.
It's almost
Don't
like
conjure.
My mother-in-law.
Stay away from the
My
Ouija
mother-in-law
board.
used to be like, "Take it back, JP, take it back."
Yeah, I got to get the Milwaukee. Somebody to take the Milwaukee.
Let's go to Dan. How about a comment from Dan Murphy, who's fired up? This guy called out of work today, and he's saying,
Dan!
Let's bleep and go.
I got a yo for Dan. What else we got?
Dave P, the Heat are vampires, and Joel is Van Helsing.
I saw
Van
that.
Helsing! Swat! Take that. Stake in the heart.
Shout out to Sammy's got a long night ahead of him. It's a midnight tip-off for him, I think, in London tonight.
Oh,
he's trying to grab
Sam
a nap.
in England, baby.
Yeah.
He's the great Sixer man.
He is.
Yeah, he's a great Sixer man.
K Lock says most athletes crumble under Philly pressure. Embiid embraced it, and he's turned it into a diamond.
I love it. You know what? I
Yeah.
love the mentality of our fans.
Yeah, it's great in the chat room.
That's
Good
what I
stuff
wanted
out
to
there.
say about, with Danny Green. Like, listen, this is how we do things here. Like, we love it here. I'm glad he appreciated it. And what was the chat? I'm curious. Any chat about the Belichick thing?
Not much, man. Everyone's pretty Sixers out. One or two people said they had no interest in Bill, but most of it's pretty locked in on the Sixers. There's a lot of Ranger stuff too.
You're in on the bill.
No, I mean, listen, if Sirianni flops, then I think you have to be in on Belichick.
Yes.
My hope is that Sirianni has a great year. It's all moot, and then Belichick, is
Hopefully he doesn't go to the Cowboys or the Giants.
I was thinking about that, but
It's
I
like a
like
preemptive
Dable.
strike.
Oh my
I like
God.
Dable. I still think he's a good coach. I just don't like their
Can you
personality.
imagine Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick just bumping heads?
No.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I just see them bumping heads.
It would be scary too.
Yeah,
though.
I don't want that.
Yeah, I agree.
They got some defensive talent
stay with
there.
McCarthy. Stay there.
yeah.
Stay
Fantastic
Stay
coach.
with McCarthy. All right. Thanks to everybody on the chat room. Tell everybody how to get a hold of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, of course, if you're watching us live, subscribe and hit that hit that notification button so you can know exactly when we're live. But you can also find us wherever you stream podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, the Anthony Gargano Show. Subscribe and leave a rating as well.
And you can just say, play the Anthony Gargano Show.
Yeah. So listen, just say, hey, you know what? And then play the Anthony Gargano Show. And then it'll pop right up on your phone. If you have the Android too, I don't know what the Android people say to pop that up. But you can just say, play the Anthony. Yeah, say, Alexa. Hey, Alexa.
Right.
Play the Anthony
so
Gargano
you
Show.
can do all that and you get us, right?
You'll hear it
so
right away.
You can hang out with us. So many different mediums and platforms. All right, stay tuned. We have a big day here at All PHLY. Our Sixers show, man, they are fantastic. The coverage all day long. And, of course, the Phils tonight. So, everybody, have a great night. Oh, man, this is going to be great. Bye-bye, Jimmy.
Bleep Jimmy.
Bleep him. Bleep him. Go Sixers.
Go Sixers.
Love you guys. See you in the morning. Celebrate.
All city like the mayor.